struggling to move your nonprofit forward? You've come to the right place. Welcome to the Nonprofit Architect, where we are giving you the actionable steps you need to launch and grow your nonprofit organization. Now, here's your host, Travis Johnson.
Hey, it's Travis Johnson, the Nonprofit Architect, helping you build a stronger nonprofit. Get a chance, jump on over to patreon.com/nonprofit architect, throw in a couple bucks a month, help us stay on the air. I'm here today with Candice Liozu. She's the Program Director of Foster 360 out of Mason, Arizona. Candice, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Travis. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm all stretched out. I'm limber. I'm ready to go. I've got my water. We are set for another great podcast. Tell us about this. Tell us about this awesome program in Foster 360 that you run.
Yeah, so Foster 360 is a program that is dedicated to helping youth aging out of foster care build successful and fulfilling lives. The reason we do that is because in Arizona alone, we have about 900 youth that age out every year. And out of these 900 youth, half of them end up homeless within the first 2 years of aging out. Mainly because of, basically the lack of planning for, their lives. And what we found is that there is a resource and a service that will fulfill every need that they have. The problem is that they don't know about it. They have no idea of all the resources that are available out there, and nobody is there to help them coordinate. So when I say nobody, there are people, but it is not their main activity. So if they're lucky, they're going to find someone that will know various resources and guide them. But it is not part of a process or a program that is dedicated to really helping them coordinate all these resources. Mm-hmm. So that is what we do. We basically navigate youth that get referred to us, and we help them based on their needs and based on their wishes. We help them find the resources that will support them in fulfilling these goals.
I really love your vision and your mission. And when we talked before, I talked about my time as a foster kid and the 5 foster homes that I was in. And I was fortunate to end back up with my mom and then my grandmother before I ended up graduating high school. But I can't imagine what it would be like if I would have left the foster home. And fortunately for me, in Minnesota, I had really fantastic foster parents who had a vision, who cared, who were really there doing the right thing. But to have someone navigate you through the different things that are available, that's invaluable. And this really applies, this kind of concept of a navigator applies to any vulnerable population. We talked before about veterans and connecting veteran services. We've got a friend and a former guest on the show, I think episode 3, Brian Paul. He is the navigator in Oklahoma City at Veterans for Life USA. I've got friends down in Georgia, and they're running a great program called Positive Transitioning, helping coordinate different programs for cons that are being released back into the wild, so to speak, and helping them navigate through that stuff. And it's just a really, really important aspect. If someone's listening to this and they're trying to start a nonprofit or something that they're interested in, whatever city that they're in, and they realize there's already a bunch of different groups running around sort of doing this, but no one is doing that navigator role, that might be something to really look at. I love that vision and mission. And really, I know you're working on a model that kind of could be used on any vulnerable population. Isn't that what we mentioned before?
Yes, and indeed, that is really my bigger vision, and the legacy I would love to leave behind is to not just have a one-off kind of opportunity to help, but rather create a program that could be replicated as a model for any organization that serves vulnerable populations. It's something that is very, very important to me. And I feel like if we put the right effort in the right places, we can really create repeatable models. But the nonprofit world is a very different world from the rest of the world, and very often I am in it too. We find ourselves scrambling and being very reactive because we are exposed to situations that require immediate assistance, right? Mm-hmm. But it's important to step back and take a look at a bigger picture and see, okay, while I'm doing this, what exactly do I want to create for the future?
That's fantastic. It doesn't have to be a one and done. College professors are kind of enticed to be published every few years, and they have these peer-reviewed journals, and these are designed. They're a huge pain for students. If you're a college student listening, I'm sorry, you have to write papers, and they suck. But they're out there, so the academic population at large can be on the same page with each other. They publish this stuff to share and to collaborate and coordinate. And a lot of times in the nonprofit world, there's a lot of organizations out there that are more worried about competition than collaboration. And if you listen to this show and this episode, this is your first one. If you go back and listen through, this thread is throughout. There's enough to go around. As long as you're not trying to take from another organization, there's plenty of ways to work together. But you got started in a little bit different way. You have a program that you run, but it's not your own nonprofit. You're under the umbrella of someone else. And do you recommend that method? And what does that look like for you?
Yes, very much so. I mean, I wouldn't be talking to you, and I wouldn't be where I am if it wasn't for the support of the CEO of Mesa United Way, Mark Young, and the executive director of Helen's Hope Chest, Katie Pompey. They are the ones that. So I originally ran into Mark Young at an event, and he basically was giving a speech, and I was really, really inspired by his message. I could tell that he truly cared for the people that they were serving. And so I reached out to him, and I come from the for-profit world. So I had an idea. I was a little afraid that he would think that I'm a dreamer and laugh at me, but I still did it. I went to him and said, look, I have an idea of a model for youth at risk. At first, that was kind of the area I wanted to focus on, but youth aging out of foster care are in essence at risk. Right, the statistics demonstrate that loudly. I met with him and Katie Pompey and presented this plan to them and thought, I have nothing to lose here. The worst thing that could happen is them laughing at me and saying, Candice, you and your dream, go back to your for-profit world, bye-bye. And it's not what happened.
Well, it never is. I mean, there's a lot of people that are scared to ask. Like, if you don't ask, it's already a no. It's already a no if you don't ask. The only way to possibly get a yes is to say, hey, you want to jump in this crazy idea with me?
Yeah, and you need to find the right people who are willing to listen as well, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I really had that feeling that Mark would be one of those people, and I was right in that assumption. And so, so what you get by being under, an umbrella of already existing organizations, and when you look at United Way, I mean, I don't want to speak for the worldwide United Way, but I would think that they operate, quite similarly depending on, what they do. But I look at them as incubators. Coming from the for-profit world, I look at, these United Ways as being the opportunity for small nonprofits to come in and grow. So I benefit from, all the administrative part. I don't need to hire, administrative staff. I am able to write grants under Helen's Hope Chest, which is a gift, which very often larger grants are not given to brand new nonprofits. You have to show viability for at least 3 years. I mean, the foundations have different rules, but it is not a given that you can write any kind of grant from the get-go. I also have the possibility to benefit from their AmeriCorps program. So Mesa United Way has a very, very large AmeriCorps program. And I was given the opportunity to use AmeriCorps resources to be a part of my staff, which is how I started this program. In the first place, I was the only person that was, a full-time employee. So it is invaluable, the level of support that I have received and am still receiving from these two organizations.
Yeah, so often I talk to well-meaning individuals with a big heart and a big vision, and there's nothing at all wrong with that, but they can shortcut and sidestep a lot of the initial startup churn, the hassle, the part that really breaks people by partnering with somebody and being under their umbrella and working with them under their name. And you can start doing good things right away without having to do all the super hard parts. And the huge benefit about it is you have a program that's up and running and viable a lot quicker, and you're not, creating all these other problems and all these concerns for yourself, and you really bypass a lot of the work. It's almost like the nonprofit easy button by partnering with other people.
And I would love to see more of that out there. I would love to see more nonprofit incubators that really provide the infrastructure for smaller nonprofit organizations to start the right way. Because what do you find if you don't do that? You find a lot of those, grassroots organizations, which are great. They're doing amazing work, but somehow the scalability stales at some point. It's becoming very difficult for them to scale. And it's unfortunate because they're doing a lot of great things in the community.
Well, I think part of that is really twofold. One, maybe threefold, but one, they have this initial board, whatever your board setup is. And oftentimes in there, you might have a friend or two or a family member of two, and there's nothing wrong with that to get started. But eventually, you're going to need new ideas, new blood, new relationships to help really fuel you to that next level. And you're going to have to part ways with board members in order to really grow and get to that next level. And there's nothing wrong with this. There's standard verbiage in most people's bylaws that says board members will serve for this long. This person will be secretary, whatever, and they can't hold back-to-back years. They have to have a period off before they come back on. And that's no big deal, but you have to be willing to have that conversation with possibly a good friend or family member saying it's time for the next step. On the next part is nonprofits are not gaining new information. They're not listening to great podcasts like, maybe the Nonprofit Architect. I don't know. Maybe that's one you've heard of. They're not in mastermind groups. And Candice and I talked about what a mastermind might look like. And, hold on to our show notes for that to see what a mastermind might look like. But getting in with different types of organizations and finding something that might work for you. We talked earlier about a platform, my.workplace.com, to allow free coordination between elements of a nonprofit. And I got that information by interviewing another guest that's going to be on in a few weeks. And I've already connected Candice and Lakia, and they're going to do great work, I have no doubt. But you have to be able to talk to people, in some other kind of discipline. But I know Candice for sure is from a business background, and she loves systems. And many new nonprofits don't think about systems, these internal controls or processes that ensure things get done right the first time and every time after that. In the military, we call that thing a checklist. Mm-hmm. If I take out my checklist, well, I'm going to do the thing, and I check all the checks off the checklist, the thing is done properly, and I know that I haven't missed anything. But Candice loves that. What do you love so much about these internal protocols?
Well, it gives you predictability. A process allows you to keep your energy where things are unpredictable, right? Otherwise, you spin your wheels on the same things over and over again, and you do things differently, and there is no consistency. What drives me the most in developing processes is because across all of the navigators that we have, and I expect to have many more over time, I really want the quality of the services to be the same across the board. And there is no way I can achieve that goal without having the appropriate processes in place and giving people with the direction of how it is they need to work and what the expectations are. So you don't leave things, up for people's interpretations. And I will tell you, I ran into this week where, we implemented the process a couple of weeks ago. And it was already the second version of the process. And now I'm hearing from my team, well, this and this and this and this part of the process don't work. And, what I tell them, because, some of my navigators are, former teachers or not necessarily people that have a consulting background. I explain to them that that's why it's important to do a process, because you wouldn't know that it doesn't work unless it was documented somewhere.
That's right.
And once you document the process, you find the gaps, you find the flaws, and then you update it. So next week, I'm meeting with the team. We're going to be updating the process. It's going to be version 3. And I told them, expect another 3 versions, right? But once you go through that, process optimization phase, you really get to a point where you nail it down and you find that secret sauce, the magic formula that will allow you to create excellence in the field of, nonprofit and in whatever area that you serve. And to me, it's not just about having a navigator, see your youth and be nice to them. I mean, that's great. But what I want is our youth to find true value in the service we present. I really look at our youth as $1 million client that I would serve back in the for-profit world, and being very attentive to the quality levels of the services that we provide.
This is very important, and you see this, and it was highlighted in the movie The Founder with the story of Ray Kroc, how he took what the McDonald's brothers had and the process they had in that one location, and how he had them write it down and he had them codify the process, and this gets this, and this has to be here, and this has to be faster here. And they create this playbook, this standard operating procedure, this process that once you have this down, you can take and you can plant another location, another location, another location after that. And it's seamless as long as you actually, I don't know if you saw the movie or not, but there was people that were kind of doing their own thing. They got the playbook, they got the logo, they set it up, and some of them were selling corn dogs and tacos. And you had to go there with the iron fist and say, hey, you have to follow the playbook or I'm taking it away from you. And it's not that you have to want to expand in order to write a playbook. If you don't write the playbook, if you don't write the process, if you don't codify this thing, then if Candice, there's a chance sometime down the road that you might no longer be working for Foster 360. It's a reality, right? And when they bring in someone else, God forbid this, not too soon. I'm not trying to kick you out of your job. But.
I don't expect that to happen anytime soon. But I hear what you say, because turnover is a real thing in our world, right?
Yeah. And it's not it could be the same as an executive director, but it could be your volunteer coordinator, or it could be that you lose, for whatever reason, 5 navigators a month over the next 3 months. Now you're down 15 people and you're training new people. And if you didn't have that process in place, if you didn't have that playbook, that blueprint, how do you know what they're teaching them? How do you know when they have attained the skills they need to do to be effective? How do you know that when they go out with a child in need or someone that is recently aged out, that they're going to get the services that your logo, that your brand, that your nonprofit is come to be recognized as? You have to be able to maintain that level of quality and consistency. And that's one of the things that is so good about chain restaurants. Even though it's a chain restaurant, I'm out here in Bahrain, and when I go to the Chili's out here and get the chips and queso, it is the exact chips and queso that I would expect. When I go out to Texas Roadhouse and get a steak out here, it is the exact steak, the exact recipe. And when I go to Five Guys, I get almost the same burger because of the bacon rule out here. But that's a different reason, right? But the burger itself, the bun itself, the fries are the exact same. And that kind of success is what allows you, that kind of consistency, whatever the thing is the thing that people come to rely on and expect. And when they can expect that of you, and as a foster kid, you don't have a lot of consistency. You don't have a lot of reliability. So when you have a wonderful navigator that is trained to the level that Candice is trying to bring that up to, you know that they care about you, and you have that single person touch point to walk you through the whole process. And that might be the only person you've had any kind of consistency with over time in your whole life, especially as a foster kid. So it's wonderful.
And you touched on something that is extremely important, and that has little to do with the business side of the nonprofit. We want to be a permanent relationship in these kids' lives, and that is part of our process as well. It's we don't want to look at it from a transactional standpoint and say, well, once you check those boxes off, we're going to let you go, bye-bye. We're looking at building a strategic life plan for each of the youth that we serve. And, every baby step is celebrated and recognized. But the way we train our navigators is by saying, well, you need to think a step ahead. Not in terms of making the decisions on behalf of the youth, because they've had enough people do that in their lives, but think a step ahead as far as what are the opportunities that we could introduce them to for them to create that vision. Mm-hmm. See, the same way I have a vision for this program, and whoever is involved in this program has a vision for it as well. We want to bring that vision back to the youth that we serve and allow them to really have a dream that they can really follow.
Absolutely. And one of the side benefits for writing and creating a process and ensure you're doing the right thing is nonprofits are busy, super busy. And if you are starting up your nonprofit, you know that your time is valuable. But can you imagine if you have a process in place and the process is refined, and that'll take some time, but it works. All of a sudden, every time you go to do this thing, you know exactly the steps you need to do, you know exactly how long it's going to take you. And what that does is it helps create extra time and extra bandwidth, and it helps keep your energy, because when you go to do the thing, it's easy. When you started driving, you weren't sure what you were looking at. Your eyes were all over the road. Your hands were all over the road. The car was all over the road. Everyone's terrified in the car. Everyone outside the car sees what kind of person you are. But once you do it a while and you understand the mechanism and you understand the process, driving is now super easy. It takes no time, almost no brain power, some less than others. But you have got that process down. Once you've got it down, it makes everything that much easier. And it's the same with a process at work. Once you get that, all right, I got to do 1, 2, 3, I got to make this call, I got to do 4, 5, 6, send the email, and that thing is done. But while you were figuring it out, that 15-minute process took you 4 hours to do. And the next time,
that's exactly it. And I look at the first year. So I'm in year 2, right, of this program. And the first year, things went very fast, and I had these navigators that came in, and I was still figuring out what on earth I was setting myself up for here. I didn't quite know. And I was very candid with them. I said, I actually don't know what I'm doing right now, so bear with me. And I literally threw them in the lion's den, telling them to figure it out, while I, behind the scene, was able to see, okay, how is this working, right? So that's year 1. And then year 2, we brought in a new, batch of AmeriCorps resources. And there we had a 5-day-long training with materials. They all got a binder, with tutorials and documentation. And, the people that had stayed along, and one of them is a full-time staff with us, we sat back after that training and we said, wow, we have come a long way. So I think that even from an internal culture standpoint, being able to show your employees that you are continuously improving and that you listen to their feedback and that you are really working hard to make their lives as easy as possible in a world that will never be easy, right? I think it goes a long way with even, employee retention. How fun is it to be working for an organization that listens to what you have to say and that applies, changes to their protocols based on your feedback? How fun is it to know that, right now things that aren't really working well will be working well because we will be making the adjustments necessary? And how inspiring is it to know that if you stick around, you're going to be a part of this big organization that you really helped build, right?
It's amazing because you have this impact, you have this buy-in, you have this feeling of accomplishment. I think the word we're trying to boil this down to is valued. Who is at their corporate job punching a time clock that really feels valued, that feels like they're creating impact? Mm-hmm. It's not many. I'm in the Navy and I'm serving, I'm doing good stuff. But the Navy is a gigantic organization with tons of red tape and multi-million and multi-billion-dollar pieces of equipment. But there is a ton of processes to make sure everything is on the same page. There is a ton of training that we do all the time. And all that training that we do, every time something comes up that's a bump in the road, we identify, we're like, oh, this is weird. Have you seen this? Hey, have you seen this? All right, best guess, here we go. And you go on through it, and you get through it, and you collect lessons learned, and you figure out how to tweak the process and go better for next time. The military does this, EMTs do this, paramedics do this, police do this, fire do this. Why not your volunteers? Why not your team of navigators? And especially when you're young, especially when you're small and developing, and I'm going to brag on Brian Paul again, his veteran organization, when they are doing the volunteer work, he has a different volunteer lead the session every time. Mm-hmm. He's giving them that ownership that is part of them. It's not Candice's organization. It's the team's organization. And Absolutely. That buy-in is what you need. And when you feel heard and valued and you're helping to build this thing as a team, everything is better.
And I think, Travis, I think a lot has to do with mindset and background. There are various layers in nonprofits. There is the small nonprofit that was created by someone who had a dream, who wants to make some impact. They may not have the background to create, employee retention, to create processes, to really run it like a business. It might just not be there. Then you have, the mid-size organizations that have a mix maybe of both. And then you have the large, organizations that really run like corporations. And in between there is more, right? But I think that we could use more regulation in this space to allow for nonprofits that have those systems in place to really grow and prosper and make impact. The nonprofit sector is a space where there is a lot of duplication of efforts. A lot. A lot. Right? And this is all happening with taxpayer money. And so I think that there is an opportunity for all of us to think things through internally. But, when you think about processes and optimization, I think collaboration comes right in with that. You can have the best, right? And so now expanding that with other partnering organizations and working in such a way that is efficient for the people we serve, I believe, again, can be a place that, we can grow from and create even more impact. And so that's at Foster 360, that's what we do. So while, we have navigators out there, serving the youth, I work a lot with these organizations in our community and offer visions of partnerships. And it doesn't always work. I'll be very honest with you. Not everybody wants to play in the same sandbox, and it's okay. But some do. And some are really excited by that perspective.
It is wonderful. It like a little context. When I go to do video for like my Facebook group and try to give value, I suck. I am not good on the camera, talking to a camera, reading to a script by myself. It's not where I excel at. And that's fine. Mm-hmm. Where I really do well, personally, as far as I can tell, I don't know. No one ever tells me anything. Maybe I suck at it. I don't know. But I really do well, and I get a lot of energy, and I really enjoy interviewing guests and talking to people and building on stuff. And like, oh, remember when we talked about this? I love that. That's really kind of my area. So when you're out, not you, when my listeners are out and they're trying to build this nonprofit thing and they're doing it by themselves, it's lonely and it sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Find a way. You can connect with me. You can connect with Candice. I'm sure she'd love to talk to anybody. Figure out how you can partner. And even if you get 20 minutes once a week with a friend or someone at whatever level that you can bounce ideas off of or vent to a little bit, or like, did you hear what my volunteer did? Or, and it's not a gossip thing. It's a coordination thing. It's a brotherhood. It's a sisterhood. It's a fraternity. It is a way to build partnerships and do this thing with someone else, because look, I can't do it alone. I've seen myself alone. I suck when I'm alone. I do. My wife's back in the States. I'm so much better when she's around. I'm so much better when I'm on camera with someone else as opposed to just being by myself. Some people like the solitude, and that's fine. And some people do great work alone. But figure out what it is for you. If you're in a partnership or a group and it's not working, maybe you need to be alone. But if you're alone and you hate it, connect with somebody, engage with somebody, find an online community. We have a group, a nonprofit architect group. Find me on Facebook, click the thing, and it'll take you right to my group, and engage. Does you no good to be in a group if you don't engage. But if you are feeling this way, reach out to someone. It doesn't have to be. Maybe you're like, Travis, look, I really don't appreciate the way you did business. I don't care. Find someone that you do connect with that does make sense for you, that vibes in whatever way that you vibe, and grow with them.
I agree. And I would say if the goal for you, anybody out there, is to really create a legacy and grow, right? It's imperative. It's imperative to connect with others. The time you're going to save, I see that. I mean, I'm having a call with a lady in Texas next week. We're doing our own mini mastermind once a month. We're talking. She's in a different space than what I do. But, the technicality, the operations of a nonprofit are the same. You build a board, you create metrics, you try to figure out what kind of things can you turn into tangible impact, because there is a lot of intangible especially when you provide services. How do you track it? This is the same. And being able to talk to someone and really being able to share the gifts is absolutely invaluable.
It's important. And the other thing you must know, especially if you're new, I'm totally stealing Candice's quote. It's a crock pot. It is not an Instapot. It is. It isn't. You come home, you throw it in the rice cooker, you go dust your face off, and you check your email, and it's done. It is. You've got this thing set on low. It's simmering all day while you're at work. It's the juices are flowing, the meat's getting tender, and you're going to have something. After you get back from the gym in the evening. It is a slow process, but it is a process, and especially early, it's going to take a lot of time. Candice, what can my community, what can my team, what can my listeners do to help impact you and your cause?
Well, that's a good question. Other than a $10 million check, I think connection is very important. I would love to have other fellow nonprofit leaders reach out and create a community to be able to exchange best practices. I am by far not, at least I don't consider myself at all as a seasoned nonprofit leader. I am still new to the game. It's been only it's actually been 2 years only. And I still have a lot to learn and a lot to offer through my background. And I'm sure that other people out there are in the same situation. And so what if what I need to learn another person has? And what I have to offer, another person needs to learn. And I think that creating that community would be amazing. Exchanging best practices, tips. We all suffer through the same struggles, fundraising, right? We have these missions, we do these great things, but yet it comes down to the money, right? If I had the money by now, we would have a community of tiny homes that would house our kids. But instead, what I do is I still house them in motels, right? Because I'm waiting for that amazing opportunity and talking to the right people at the right time. We're all on the same boat. And so how about we start exchanging ways to fast track these and be able to truly create amazing impact. There are so many people who need our help.
Absolutely. If you're listening to this, Candice wants connection, whether it's connection with you or connection that you have to offer, reach out to Candice. Her contact information is going to be in the show notes. I've absolutely loved having Candice on today, and I hope we get to talk again soon. But if you like the show and you like what you heard, you like what you listened to, don't keep it a secret. Share in your social media. Give me a shout out on social media. Tag me to Travis Johnson. I think your podcast is amazing. Or Travis, I can't believe you're always so down on yourself on your show. You really got to pick it up. Whatever the thing is, I'm happy either way because I'm just happy when people engage. Mm-hmm. Until next time, thank you so much, Candice, and thank you all for listening.
You've been listening to The Nonprofit Architect. To listen to all our past shows, visit http://nonprofitarchitect.org. And be sure to subscribe, rate, and review our show. Thank you.